When parents made it a problem that you needed their love and attention, there's a big risk that you internalize the belief that there's something wrong and dirty and shameful about you and your feelings. And when you grew up learning that people who expect loyalty and honesty only create horrible arguments at home, you may have trained yourself not to need loyalty and honesty, not to expect much, or not to admit that you long for someone to love you and commit to you. And then, of course, what happens is you don't get someone who loves you and commits to you. And I know what that's like, and making that transformation inside so that you accept and honor what you really want in a relationship, even when it means you walk away from someone you love. Well, it requires courageous honesty with yourself and with other people. My letter today is from a woman I'll call Laura, and she writes, "Hello, Anna. I had never heard about the term limerence before last year when I started watching your YouTube videos. I felt like I related a lot to the stories you were talking about, and I benefited tremendously from the advice you gave. I recognized limerence in a lot of my previous relationships." All right, I've got my fairy pencil. I'm going to circle things that I want to come back to. I'll read it all the way through now so we can sort of get the lay of the land, and then I'll come back and talk about things, see if I can help Laura. To give you some background, I'm 27 years old, and I come from an immigrant family. My father was the first person to immigrate when I was only 7. I was very close to him, so when he left, I felt a sense of deep loss, because our relationship after he came back was never the same. Even after we joined him, he was colder, verbally aggressive, never physically, would throw things at the wall when he was raging. He was moody, more focused on work or drinking than on loving and taking care of his family. I also found out he was cheating on my mother when I was 13, and the cheating caused a horrible family environment for many years. The environment got so much better, as well as my relationship with my dad, but the cheating never went away, and they are still together. I've spent the last 5 years working on myself so I can overcome my codependency, and I would say I've made so much progress, but I find myself still stuck on an almost X that sounds like the classic example of limerence. I have a hard time understanding the nature of this relationship and how much of it is, quote, real, and how much of it is made up in my head. We met 7 years ago through a group of friends, and I felt love at first sight, became obsessed with him for a week or two, and my obsession stopped as soon as I realized he was into me too. Interesting. This is when our on and off again dynamic began. It seemed like when I decided to give him a chance because at that moment I was feeling it, he would leave me on read for days or just run. And I had to look up what on read means, and it means not replying to a text, making it visible that you read it, but not replying. So leaving somebody hanging or waiting on a text. He would leave me on read for days or just run, but when I did the same because I had enough, he would come back showing a lot of interest. We would stop talking for months and then reconnect like nothing happened, even laughing at our behavior and repeat the same story all over again. Among our friends, it was known that he had a crush on me, and everyone thought I was the one preventing us from being together, when in fact, he would not let the relationship go further in any way and did not even seem interested in any sort of intimacy, mental or physical. He talked and acted like he did not want any commitment, yet he said that he liked to take things slow, even sexually, because supposedly he had feelings for me. Part of that was what made me feel so safe around him, and the fact that he was kind, patient, and would not scare me or scream at me. But another part of me got so frustrated that I tried to make him jealous, talking to him about other guys or friend-zoning him many times. I wanted to make him want me, choose me. He was a great listener, but I would have to drag the words out of him, whether it was a normal conversation or just because I wanted to know how he felt so I could have some closure. But he spoke sweet nothings, and his actions never matched his words. We never got to be in a relationship or have sex, and only kissed 2 or 3 times at parties. However, I missed him a lot, and even though I dated in those times in between our communication, I would still miss him at times. A few years back, he moved to his home country and got a girlfriend, but the dynamic continued with that once-a-year communication that made me feel like maybe he had changed now, matured, or like maybe he was ready to end it with this girl because in my mind, he was obsessed with me, and I had always been the love of his life. even though I was clear on the fact that I logically did not want him. I found myself stalking him and his girlfriend online and waiting for him to text or to tell me he had loved me all along and that I was not crazy for thinking we had something special. Even though he had ignored me for so many years, neglected me, and made me feel like a total second option for so long, I still cared about him deeply. I still wished and wished it could be me and him in the end. So last year, he reached out to me and said, sorry for hurting me and for treating me poorly and disrespecting me, and that he wished the best for me and my family. And I said the same, but as soon as he started flirting, I immediately cut him off, because I could no longer tolerate that childish attitude and the same pattern of communication. Plus, he had a girlfriend. However, I missed him afterwards, wishing he would text me again to choose me on my birthday. He reached out again, and I was so happy about it. I thought that was it, but as soon as he wanted to pick things up where we left them, I backed off. I realized he was still in a relationship and felt extremely disrespected that he would treat me like a side chick. I blocked him, and that was it for us. I'm aware I made mistakes too, and until only 2 years ago, I was trying to act cool and like I didn't like him as much as I did. I wanted to protect myself from a toxic relationship and someone who did not desire me. He's single now, and although I do not want to unblock him or text him or go back to him because I know I deserve true love, I find myself thinking about him a lot and wondering if he'll reach out and confess his feelings for me. It sounds dumb, I know, but I really want to know how to let him go. Anna, what do you think of this relationship? Do you think it was purely limerence, or maybe there was something more? How can I get over him and move on? I want to be open to true love, and I feel like if I don't release him entirely, the universe won't send me a good partner, the one I deserve. I feel like I'm doomed because somehow he gets to live his life and date a lot, but I'm still stuck on him, unable to move on. I worry if I never move on, it will sabotage my future. I worry if I meet someone new, he will come back. I worry I will never get over him. Please give me some advice, Anna. Thank you. Much love from Laura. Okay, I think I can help you. This is a very common predicament for people who had childhoods like yours. What I heard, okay, you're young. You're at an important age where you have the opportunity to stop having this pattern now. So many of the people in our community, including myself, like the pattern kept going and going and going through the decades. And so the longer you do it, the more you miss out on happy relationships. It's never too late to change your pattern and do something different, but you're at a lovely time to change this now, okay? So you come from an immigrant family. I know that that can be a real stressor for families or for a person. Your father was the first person to immigrate when you were 7, crucial age. And you were very close, so when he left, you were full of loss. And you know what? It's interesting. My parents got divorced when I was 7, and I know about that. Oh, I pined away for my dad. And I did get to see him on weekends, but even so, I pined, and I think a groove went in there about, priming me. Maybe that's true for you too. You were primed too long for somebody you couldn't have, okay? But when you were reunited with him, the relationship was never the same. He was colder, verbally aggressive, never physically, would throw things at the wall when he was raging, moody, more focused on work or drinking than on loving or taking care of his family. And then you found out he was cheating on your mother when you were 13, and the cheating caused a horrible family environment. The fact that he was doing it and that it kept going and your family suffered with it, like that just sounds like such a soup of grief and anger all around the family. And I can imagine as a little kid, you would have been like, oh, please, don't start the thing up again that makes mom so angry and sad. Don't do the thing that makes it feel like our family is on the verge of falling apart and all the danger that would come on it. I would just imagine, if you had just immigrated to a new country, the fear that your dad was going to take off must have been like an existential threat to the stability of your ability to eat and have a roof over your head. And how frightening for everyone. You said the environment got better over time and your relationship got better with your dad, but the cheating never went away and they're still together. So I don't know. It sounds like perhaps they came to some sort of an agreement or an acceptance that that's how he was going to live his life, and some people do that. But it sounds like the damage was done for you, and it put a mark in you about what you could expect. And what you should learn to tolerate. And this is the thing about what we call crap fit here, where we learn to fit ourselves to a horrible situation. And we get so good at it. You had to do it when you were a kid, right? To be optimistic, to have a connection to the parents you need and love, even though they're saying terrible things about each other and hurting each other, or at least your dad was hurting your mom, who knows. But now, as adults, the job is to start unpacking that incredible talent to just put up with anything, okay? So you've said you've spent the last 5 years working on yourself so you can overcome codependency. Yay, good for you. And you would have to say there's a lot of progress, but you find yourself stuck on an almost X. I like that word, almost X, because he's not with you, but your emotions are still going there as if he were. And you feel like it's limerence. And, maybe, regardless of what you call it, I hear the problem here. I hear the painful situation. And you said, I have a hard time understanding the nature of the relationship and how much of it is real. Oh my gosh, isn't that what we do? Like, if you didn't get treated as real, if your needs didn't get treated as real, there just ends up being this pattern of confusion later, isn't there? About like, is this real? Am I real? Do I deserve what I want? Do I deserve to say what I want? And that's what happens. So I'm here to validate you are real. You're a real woman who really needs love, and it's real. And so having this kind of like quasi, fakey relationship with him, I can only imagine how unsatisfying and painful and invalidating for you. Your healing is at a point where your mind is still thinking that maybe if you, are nice enough or tolerant or cool enough that somehow he'll come around. And I hear how you simultaneously have awareness of that, but it hasn't quite gone over the edge where you're just like, screw this, and you emotionally move on. So let's see if we can help you do that. Okay. So you met this guy, and it was love at first sight, and through friends, and you became obsessed with him for a week or two, and then as soon as you realized that he liked you too, you weren't. The obsession stopped. So that part was limerence, okay, I guess. But early in a relationship, like everybody gets a little bit obsessed, or stars in their eyes. It's like, oh, they're perfect in every way. But the limerent part, I think, is where it was only when you thought that he didn't love you back that you felt magical about him, right? And then it's like, oh, he likes me too. Now it is what it is, and you start seeing the person, and you have to ask yourself, am I interested in that? So that was when your on and off dynamic began. I can just really see in your history how you were primed to respond strongly, emotionally, viscerally attached to an on-off thing. Your dad left, he came back, but he was terrible, he was mean, you tried. I see it. It seemed like when I decided to give him a chance, because at that moment I was feeling it, he would leave me on read for days or just run. So it sounds like he had a similar thing to you, where he loved you when you were unavailable, and when you were available, he ran away. So this is kind of a case of two avoidance coming together. There might have been a great chemistry there, but avoidance are people where the actual intimacy is like kind of overwhelming. It's like drinking from a fire hose. It's too much in your face. And even though you're not conscious of it, it's like you have this intense urge to run away. So it doesn't mean you're bad people, but I'm going to guess he had some stuff in his past too. Some people, if they're very charming, they can get away with this quite a lot. Some of us are very sincere, and sincerity is actually the way to be. Sincere is the way to be, but sincere with a charming, manipulative person is going to like ruin everything. So what happens is that old crap fit tendency where you're like, I can work with somebody who's being mean and terrible and threatening to destroy our safety. I can live with this. That part of you kicks in and goes, if he runs away, I'll just change myself. I'll pretend I don't like him. I'll pretend I don't care. I'll be cool girl. We talk about cool girl here. And we don't want to be cool girl. Like, we think that's what guys want. And certain charming, avoidant guys will let you stay in their orbit for a while if you're really cool. And what does cool mean? It means I don't expect anything. You can do what you want. I'll be your friend. Yeah, we'll be just friends. Me, you, and your girlfriend. And that's not actually who you want to be. It's not honest. It's not workable. It's like perennial. It's just a chronic devastation. And you know what complex PTSD is it's a chronic exposure to intense stress. So when you set yourself up in a quasi-relationship where you're getting hurt again and again and again. It's taking your CPTSD and it's just like making it worse and worse and worse. So we want to turn that around and like undo that. We want to turn it back and undo that so you're not chronically stressing yourself. And the problem for a lot of us is that the excitement of the stress feels like we're getting somewhere. It feels like love and purpose and excitement. But actually it's just like damage, damage, damage. So sometimes we have to, like, I recommend so strongly that people who are healing their dating life, we have a online community, we have a coaching program for dating, I have a dating course you can take, but in there, I recommend so strongly that you are together with other women who are also healing their patterns along these lines so that you can help each other. We need love, we need people, and we need a way to bounce off ideas, especially when our thinking is kind of like drifting off into like crap fit, into lack of self-worth, into I can put up with anything, or making disastrous choices, but believing that these choices are coming from outside of ourselves. Other people are doing it to us. We have no agency. Like, how could this even be happening? So it seemed like when you gave him a chance, he would run, and he'd come back showing a lot of interest. You stop talking for months and then reconnect like nothing happened. That's where you crap fitted. It did happen, you knew it, but you went along with nothing happened. And I know exactly why. I've been there. It's because if you say anything, if you brought to light the truth that this is a really shaky relationship that has to depend on suppression of needs, expectations, humanity to go along with the pretend, la la la, we're such charming friends. Yeah, you said you laughed at your behavior. On one hand, it's funny, and on the other, it's just sucking the life out of you. It's not funny. And so you pretend nothing happened because of fear they're going to go away. That comes from a deep fear that you have to, like, hang on to this, half-assed relationship because you'll never get anything better. But the truth is, you'll never get anything better if you hang on to this thing. You will be stuck in limbo so long as you hold on. And every time a relationship like this blows up, it's actually a celebration because you just took one step closer to true love, because you're not romantically, emotionally, mentally, psychologically entangled in this thing that's just going in circles. It's never going anywhere. Just like, silence for a while, talk, contact, hope, disappointment, goes on and on. Among our friends, it was known that he had a crush on me, you say, and everybody thought that you were the one preventing you from being together, when in fact, he would not let the relationship go further in any way and did not even seem interested. He didn't want to have sex. So that's interesting. I've heard from a few women. We've done some letters from women who are with guys who do the same thing. They tease interest, so get the woman kind of romantically, interested, and then they run away, and even if they have the chance, they don't have sex. So it's not that. They're not just trying to get laid. That's not what it is. But I think it is something along those lines, but it's more about feeding off your energy, that some people want to feel that, like, interest in you, that they are in them. They want to feel admired, adored, sought after. And that's all they can handle. And I don't know if it's because he's avoidant or because he's always really with somebody else and it's never enough for him to have a primary relationship. He's always got to be sort of tricking somebody else into giving him an extra dose of romantic energy. I don't know. But I don't think what he's doing is good, but I want to just sort of highlight here that as much as I see how your background makes you primed to do this, that you're actually doing it to yourself. You're setting yourself up. You keep going back to him. Like, you're telling me like a dozen ways that he's proven himself to be not the one, but you keep having hope, you keep trying to be friends. So that was some of the stuff you said here. He said he wanted to take things slow sexually because supposedly he had feelings for me. I don't know what you mean by supposedly. That he said he had feelings for you or that you interpret it, I don't know. But anyway, we know that whatever feelings he has for you are not the kind that result in actually being in a relationship, having sex, not seeing other people. So we know that much. A lot of, feelings, we're human, we have feelings. So just having feelings isn't enough. And so you got frustrated, so you tried to make him jealous, talking about him and talking to him about other guys or friend zoning him many times. So I totally get it. You had intuited that when he can't have you, he gets really into you. But real love, you talk about, in your letter, you talk about real love and craving that true love. Where that comes from is from you being you, like never manipulative, never using hurting somebody or trying to make them jealous to get what you want. So it's a, it's a natural instinct to try to, get those feelings back. And sometimes actually a person getting jealous, a person on the fence who gets jealous might realize the jealousy might actually get them off the fence and go, you know what, I got to show up, stand up, and be in this relationship. So I suppose it was worth a try. But for you to move on now to a more mature kind of relationship, I'm just going to say, just like set aside any attempt to make somebody jealous when what you actually want is their love. When the fact is you love them, you want that love back. So you wanted him, to want you, to choose you, you bet. He's a good listener, but you'd have to drag words. He wouldn't say how he felt. Maybe he was a soft-spoken type, but I don't think so. I think he didn't say a lot because he was also observing the unspoken rule that what you don't talk about can remain in magical thinking land, can remain in that limbo where you can still exchange romantic energy without actually promising doodly, right? You said, I wanted to know how he felt so I could have closure. Good impulse. But he spoke sweet nothings. His actions never matched his words. We never got into a relationship, kissed a couple times. And even though, you dated, you would miss him. So you loved him, okay? That's what it is to be in love with somebody. You try to move on, but you're still feeling it. So you are right. Closure is a good thing. I think closure is often misunderstood in our culture. Closure is often, people are like, I want to go talk to somebody and get a whole conversation opened up so I can have closure. But the only closure that's worth anything is the one where you're completely honest. And so I'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so you said that maybe he changed, maybe he matured, maybe you had been the love of his life. And I could see why that was a possibility. That's not crazy. Even though I was clear on the fact that I logically didn't want him, I found myself stalking him and his girlfriend online. Yeah, logic, I totally get it. I think we all do. You knew, like, he's just showing all the signs that even if he did love you, he's an unreliable dude. And if he were your boyfriend, he'd be doing to you what he's doing to this girlfriend he has and, like, staying in contact and keeping things kind of romantically fluffed up with you, right? So you still wished it could be you and him in the end. You want to be special. Yes. Honor that. That's good. That part is good. Okay. So last year he reached out and said he was sorry for hurting you and treating you poorly and disrespecting you. So, okay. If I were his coach, I would have said, no, don't reach out. The way that you honor and respect and stop hurting this woman is just leave her alone. Leave her alone. She's healing her wounds. Every time you contact her, it opens them up. And you're doing it again, whether you want to or not. And you noticed he was flirting. And isn't that true? Apologies are such a convenient opportunity to fluff up the energy again or see if you can get somebody back where you want them. So you cut him off. Good girl. Could no longer tolerate, same pattern. Plus he had a girlfriend. Yes, good. Just try not to do that to other women. Okay. However, I missed him, of course. That's going to happen. Wishing he would text again and choose you. And on your birthday, he did reach out and you were so happy and you thought this was it. So yeah, his actions of staying connected were matching with your hopes and turning into like a big flash of like, oh, it's on, it's happening, it's on, it's back. But no, disappointment again. He was still in a relationship and you felt extremely disrespected. So, and treated like a side chick. Now, I don't know if you told him very clearly at that time, you have a girlfriend, I'm in love with you, I don't want any contact with you. If you're ever single, contact me or don't ever contact me again. I'm going to get there, okay? That's kind of like, if you haven't made that clear, then it's really common in this culture generally, for all the people who aren't traumatized and who can handle it, they stay friends, they stay connected, they have girlfriends and then they reach out. I don't know. It's all incredibly painful to be any person in that triangle for a person with CPTSD and attachment wounds and abandonment wounds. So, we can do things much more clearly and deliberately, and things can turn out so much better. And we can go directly to the kind of dating, the kind of people we would like to date who are capable, who also want what we want. They might not be the one, but at least the ones you're trying they're on board, they're capable. Instead of getting drawn into these ones who match these old wounds, who are never going to work out. And I can see this guy's never going to work out. I know you can too. Okay. So he's single now. That's significant to me. I'll tell you why it's significant. If he is single and you know that for a fact, if you did want a closure conversation, it would be okay to contact him. It's going to hurt. It's going to be terrible. But it might be that I think that there's a time and a place sometimes if you're hung up on somebody to have that conversation. I don't advocate going into it when, trying to get that to happen when they're in a relationship. It's like karmically you want to stop doing that. Do not interfere with relationships. If there's any chance this person you're hung up on is in a relationship, don't do it. Don't do it. I think that if you want a good, happy relationship, you have to completely change your standards, meaning how you treat other people in relationships. Even if the guy is trying to mess up his relationship to keep getting your energy, you don't participate in that, okay? So yeah, you very rightfully fear you won't get a good partner, but I thought what was interesting is I want to be open to true love and feel like if I don't release him entirely, the universe won't send a good partner, the one I deserve. And I circled those two things because I totally know what you mean. I understand the logic of what you're saying, but I think it's helpful sometimes to get out of the word deserve. Like all living things deserve love, but not everybody gets it. And some of us make self-defeating choices that sabotage that. And so the deserve thing, I think and also that the universe will send you something. It's still kind of going on this model of, if I'm a good girl, daddy will give me what I want, And there's a more empowered way to look at that. It's like if I get very clear about what I want and I'm honest with myself and other people about where I stand and what I expect in a relationship, I can participate in building a better relationship. That's taking it out of that magical daddy realm and putting it in your hands entirely. You are empowered to change how you handle things, to be very clear about your standards, and to pursue your standards and reject what doesn't meet them and continue to cultivate what does. You can do that. That is empowerment, okay? And so you feel like you're doomed. You're not. You can change. He gets to live his life and date a lot. Yeah, he gets to date a lot, right? And have those avoidant relationships. Whatever, who knows what kind of life he has ahead. You don't know because he's not in your life anymore. So you do worry he'll come back. So this is what I suggest to you. Completely block, so you young people, you do this thing blocking. But it's not just, blocking is not enough. It's that you have to make a decision. I'm not going to contact him anymore. If he contacts me, I'm not going to accept it. You can use blocking on top of that to reinforce it. But I think so often people use blocking as a way to there, take that, I block you. It's like, don't even try to get anything out of him. Don't try to hurt him. Don't try to soothe him. Don't try to apologize or thank him. Nothing. It just ends now. It ends now. No more contact. When you think about them, just go, oops, there I go. Put your mind on a happy thing. Have a handy reference for something happy that you like to think about, honestly, puppy videos, whatever you need to do, move your mind, keep practicing. No, I don't want to think about that. That's how I give energy to that old groove in me that wants to go back to the empty thing. And it's going to feel like withdrawal. You're going to feel lonely at first. It's going to take a while. It's okay. For that, you want your friends, and I would say specifically women friends who understand, who are working on this themselves, and who will lovingly help you hold up your own, define your own standards, and then stick to your own standards, lovingly. Nobody forces each other. We're all free to have a bad day and text the guy, but don't, try not to. Try not to. So the one caveat is if you absolutely cannot do it, have that closure conversation while he's single. I give you my permission. I don't think it's going to end happily for you, but it could at least give clarity. If you ever talk to him again in such a conversation, I suggest you lay your cards 100% on the table. You say, I've always been in love with you. I always hoped you'd come back. I was totally in pain. That time that I was talking about other people, I was just trying to make you jealous. It was all about you. And I fear that if I don't let go, that you'll come back someday or I'll hang on forever. And then just see what he says. And if he says, oh my gosh, I've always felt the same way, I had no idea, let's give it a try. Okay, then you have one thing. But you and I can tell he's probably not going to do that. And if it's anything less than full, I'm totally interested too, I'm down with that, then you just say, okay, thank you for helping me see clearly what this was, because with all that shame about feelings and you can't express yourself and you have to modify how you really feel. I don't really love you. I don't really feel hurt that you're, with somebody else and you tricked me and you're disrespectful. Or sometimes we feel like I can show anger to you, but not vulnerability. So finally, one time you're just like, there it is, that's my heart. It could possibly engage him in realizing that you're a vulnerable person, but it doesn't matter. If he's a selfish person and he just wants to take advantage, whatever. If you don't get the 100% that you always wanted from him, then you go, thank you so much for having this conversation with me. I'm really clear that I need to move on, and I need us not to be in contact anymore. So I no longer want to talk to you. Please don't call on my birthday. I wish you the best. Goodbye. And then you go and you cry your heart out for a little while, because all your hopes about what that relationship could be are finally just sitting looking you in the face, and it's sad. But all you've lost is a vision. You haven't lost a real thing. You've lost a vision, what you hoped would be, and that hope can stay alive, and finally, all that emotional energy in you can be used to show up for real with all your emotional availability and all your love for a real person who does meet your standards of what you need. And beware, when you meet that person, it's going to be intense. For you to actually love and be loved, all this stuff is going to come up. You've been through a lot. And you want to go really slow so that this is somebody who is your friend and who can hang in there and who knows you have a couple of touchy spots and who can hang in there and be supportive of you, or at least not abandon you just because you have feelings sometimes, and you can continue to be honest. That's my wish for you, Laura. I hope that helps for all of you listening. If you love this topic and you want to get more in touch with the qualities that a healthy person looks for in a relationship, I've got this video lined up for you right here, and I'll see you very soon.